Hello everyone, I'm Jordana Van of Ravenlight Holistic Healing and welcome to Dragon as a totem. This one's going to be a little bit different than my other totem videos because for the first time we're talking about a mythological creature instead of an animal presently in physical existence whose biology and behavior can be studied. It actually takes me at least a month to make most of these videos because I spend several weeks just researching the animal. I learn everything I can about its physical characteristics and behavior, where it lives, what it eats, how it acts in social situations with others of its kind, whether or not it already has a role in spiritual beliefs of prominent world cultures. Then I sit down and I look at each of these items and I subject them to a psychological, metaphysical, and symbolic analysis. Each part of our body has an emotional component tied to it. So how does the creature's biology reflect a person's emotionality? How does their behavior mimic human interaction? And how could it be representative of the challenges we face in developing a healthy sense of self? Further, how do these things relate to astrological and numerological concepts? And how could certain aspects of this creature be symbols for something else? When I've done all of that, then I sit down and I ask the universe if there's anything else I need to know on an intuitive level about this creature and what I'm supposed to share with you guys regardless of whether or not it makes any logical sense to me. So with Dragon, there isn't any factual, documented biology or behavior to analyze. So I'm stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit here, which I'm doing because you guys have asked for this one so much and I have this insane number of dragon people in my own life. So what I decided to do was create a video about the kind of dragon that most of my clients and my family members who are dragon people resonate with as a totem. And so what that means is that while you may be a dragon person, if you resonate with a dragon that is really different from the one I'm going to describe in just a couple minutes, then this video may not speak to you. So, for example, I grew up loving Elliot from Pete's Dragon, and I love Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon, and Falcor from Neverending Story. And I've spent time studying how dragon is represented in Asian cultures, particularly what it means to be born a dragon in the Chinese zodiac. So these are all technically dragons, but they're very different. So this is kind of like if I took a whole bunch of people who were bird totems and then put them in a room together. The person with a falcon totem is going to be very, very different from the person with a penguin or peacock or duck or kiwi totem. So they're all birds, but they represent very different qualities. So for our purposes, we're going to be talking about a more westernized, medieval style dragon, very much like a considerably less destructive Smaug, or Smaug, if you are picky about the pronunciation, from Tolkien's Hobbit, or Daenerys' dragons in Game of Thrones, which most of us are familiar with. So if your dragon is the kind that's very clever and loves riddles, probably lives in a mountain cave surrounded by riches, is enormous and winged and breathes fire, though I am going to make a brief mention of water dragons, has a penchant for princesses, and makes a habit of eating or incinerating the knight sent to destroy him, then this video is for you. If you resonate with a different kind of dragon, I would suggest instead that you schedule an animal totem and spirit guide interpretation session with me, which you can do by visiting my website. 2, you're welcome to schedule this kind of session with me simply if you want to know more about being a dragon person. As always, I kind of have to pick and choose the info I'm going to include in my videos because I like to keep them to a certain length. And I'm also not going to be covering what it means to be born a dragon in Chinese mythology or Chinese astrology. So if that's why you're watching this video, you probably aren't going to find what you need here. Okay, so the good stuff. So one of the most notable features of this kind of dragon is that it tends to reside in deep mountain caves. These aren't social creatures that live in herds or that, happily reside where men can pester them. They also aren't especially nomadic. These guys like to park themselves in a place of their choosing that is difficult for anyone but themselves to reach, and then spend most of their time inside their cozy cave guarding their wealth. So, dragon people may not all be wealthy, but they do like the finer things in life. And if they're going to buy something, they want it to be of high quality. Being surrounded by beautiful, well-made luxuries makes them feel safe and secure. In fact, dragon people are among those who shop to feel better. If they're depressed, spending money on something just for them is often the answer. This isn't a bad thing, as many dragon people are actually quite lucky with money. But it does mean that not having money to spend can be a major emotional trigger for these folks. because they know that a lot of their mental health depends on having money to buy new and shiny things. Not having money can make them feel like they're doomed to an empty, depressed existence. This trapped feeling can make them act rashly, which often takes the form of spending yet more money that they don't have at the moment in order to feel better. On the other side of the coin, they can manifest experiences that force themselves to spend money on appropriate things instead of luxuries, such as dental work or car repairs or a sudden unexpected fee from the IRS. This is a form of self-punishment for what they may be perceiving as irresponsible fiscal behavior. If they're suddenly out of money, they think it's because they didn't spend wisely, and their way of preventing further irresponsible spending is to summon up experiences that make sure the money is demanded elsewhere. So if you're a dragon person, and you're noticing that all of a sudden you're having to shell out cash right and left for needs but not wants, it's important for you to stop and ask yourself if you've been judging yourself for your spending habits. It is okay for you to enjoy spending your money. In fact, you're supposed to. Money really can come to us easily if we're in the right frame of mind to allow it to do so. And if money always comes in easily, then why shouldn't you enjoy it? I've had plenty of experience with this one, guys, because money issues are apparently one of the things I incarnated in this life to work on. So when I began shifting my beliefs enough to allow money to come to me easily, it began to do so practically overnight. And for the most part, it continues to do so. Now, because having money is such a big deal for them, dragon people can spend a lot of time battling the fear of people taking it from them. Everyone always wants the dragon's treasure hoard, and the dragon person themselves will tend to feel quite vulnerable where their wealth is concerned. There's often a deeply rooted fear that something or someone is going to see the dragon's money as belonging to them, and then they will want to swoop in and take it. This is one of the reasons why dragon people are so focused on having a safe, protected home of their own, and why they're extremely territorial. Their personal cave gives them a sense that their wealth is secure. On a similar note, the dragon we're talking about in this video has wings. So this dragon can fly, but it might be afraid to do so because it worries that if it leaves its treasure, someone might sneak in and steal it while it's gone. Now, we aren't always talking about a physical treasure here, gold and riches. Sometimes our treasure, this thing that means so much to us, can be a routine to which we're really attached, or a feeling of safety that comes from being in our nice, cozy, isolated space. So while dragon people really do need a lot of alone time, and it's normal for them to have some long sedentary spans, winged dragon people really need to remember that you can always amass another hoard of treasure. Remember, money can come to you easily, but you can't get back years that you've lost. If you haven't left your cave for a while and you aren't living your life because you're afraid that if you do, you'll lose your financial security or the comfort of a stable home or routine, if you do, then, what are you really living for? Sure, treasure makes you feel safe and secure, but it isn't a replacement for living. So the happiest dragon people have to find the faith that it's safe to leave their caves and stretch their wings from time to time, or they're going to spend their lives dreaming and doing nothing. Now, this craving for wealth extends beyond the material. Dragon people are also collectors of the wealth of knowledge. These folks are exceptionally intelligent, they're deep thinkers, they're puzzle solvers, they love the feeling of unraveling a mystery or determining exactly what makes something work the way that it does. If you're familiar with Smaug from Tolkien's Hobbit, for example, Smaug loved riddles. Dragon people may love riddles and wordplay that encourages them to think creatively, or they may enjoy games of strategy, whether it occurs on a chessboard or in a video game. They also tend to love to unravel the larger mysteries of life. They're interested in topics way outside the mainstream, and they're constantly learning. And while studying is a great way to learn, and no one can study like a dragon person, they also love stimulating conversation. In fact, they crave it. What's the fun of learning all of this stuff if there's nobody to share it with after all? So because we're talking about a winged dragon in this video, we're bringing in the element of air, which represents thought, analysis, communication. In astrology, air signs need to have someone or someones with whom to share their thoughts, or they feel incomplete. In a lot of myths, the dragon steals away the princess, and then the knight has to go to battle with the dragon to get her back. There's a lot of reasons a dragon might want a princess, but my favorites are that, one, she's probably refined and beautiful, and as you know, most legendary princesses are. And our dragon does like its pretty high-class things. They like the attractive people, too. And also, our princess is probably educated, or at least more educated than the other women of her time. So she can either hold her own in a philosophical conversation with our dragon, or she's at least classy enough to listen politely while the dragon shares its thoughts. Now, this yearning for another with whom to share their knowledge presents a bit of a conundrum for dragon people. On the one hand, they want a conversation partner. On the other, they need a lot of time alone in their quiet caves, as it's really difficult to puzzle out the mysteries of the universe, as well as one's internal mysteries, when you're being deluged with other people's earthly drama. So the problem then becomes finding someone who is delighted to come round and talk with them, who's enthusiastic about life's mysteries just like they are, but who can identify when the dragon person has hit their saturation point and wants to get back to thinking instead of talking. In other words, when it's time to leave. Because dragon people know how important their alone time is to them, they can become quite terrified of putting it at risk. They want company, but they also don't want a chance that a relationship will demand more of their time and resources than they want to give. Their freedom is critical to them. So sometimes, out of making fear that friends would cost them the time and space they need to learn and do what's meaningful for them, they can become hermits. And this is a really lonely place to live, but it feels safer for them than placing their trust in people who might end up smothering them with their needs. And this fear of someone sucking up all their vital me time is actually rather well-founded. Dragon people usually appear to have money, even when they don't. And they're strong and they're powerful, and they've accumulated so much wisdom that they come across as having all the answers to every possible problem. This wisdom, too, is a treasure that people desire. Plus, they enjoy talking and analyzing. So at first, a dragon person might really take joy in hearing about someone's problem because it's a puzzle to solve. But once they've completed the puzzle, they've figured out what's wrong with someone, for example, and how to fix it, then they're over it. They've seen the whole picture, and now they want to get back onto something new. The difficulty comes when someone doesn't take their solution, apply it, and go, but instead returns again and again, not for actual wisdom, but for someone to listen to their troubles. Possibly even someone who might be convinced by a sob story to part with a little of their wealth. So a lot of people assume that just because the dragon person showed an interest in their problem, and just because they're these wise old souls who appear to have money, that they're simply waiting around with nothing better to do than provide a listening ear and dish out money and wise counsel. So this represents one of the biggest lessons for dragon people. They need people in their lives with whom they can exchange ideas, but they also need to be able to quickly recognize when someone is there to genuinely receive and put to use their wisdom, and when that person is really just a leech wanting to feed off the dragon person's goodwill and desire for social contact. This is one of the places where we're actually going to veer for a moment away from Smaug significantly, and from many of the Western medieval dragons who were often painted as cruel and gleefully violent, and instead talk for a moment about the Eastern dragon, who's viewed as a symbol of luck and prosperity, and is associated with water, and frequently pictured as a rain bringer. In Chinese mythology, the dragon's considered the most fortunate symbol you can encounter. Everyone would love to have a dragon as their personal totem. And if you're someone who isn't blessed with a dragon totem yourself, the next best thing in your mind is probably becoming bosom buddies with someone who is, hoping that perhaps that luck will wear off on you, or that maybe they'll throw a little money your way. But what people forget is that this kind of dragon brings the rain as well. Metaphysically, water and rain are linked to our emotions. And a creature that brings rain is going to help you connect with all of the emotional feeling that you've been repressing, all the things you're refusing to look at because they scare you or they make you uncomfortable. Again, dragon people are excellent problem solvers, and so they excel at looking at the crummy places in your life and telling you exactly why they are so crummy and what you need to face inside yourself to resolve those issues. But a lot of people don't want to know how to help themselves. They just want the luck and they want the money, and to bask in the strength of the dragon person and hope that that power and wealth that found the dragon will find them as well. So if you're the kind of person who resonates with the idea of being a rain-bringing dragon, a water dragon, there's probably no shortage of people in your life who come to you with their sob stories and seem to want you to help them figure out what's wrong, but when you do, they completely ignore your advice and go right back to doing what got them in trouble in the first place. So to be a healthy, happy rain dragon person, you have to cultivate a keen awareness of when someone just wants to dump their troubles in your lap and hope you'll rescue them, instead of having them do the work to rescue themselves. And you have to learn to either accept these people for who they are and not give in to their neediness, or you need to cut ties to them. If you instead harbor resentment and worry about people taking advantage of your wisdom and goodwill, then you're never going to let yourself leave your cave. So recognizing that just because you have wisdom and a keen mind does not mean that you have to share it is important. If someone's just going to mooch off of you, you do not have to keep feeding their hunger. You do not owe anybody your wisdom or your money just because they ask for it or because they're in trouble. Okay, so back to our more westernized medieval dragon. Most Western dragons breathe fire. And if your dragon doesn't breathe fire, then this section probably won't apply to you. So fire is a very tricky element. It provides light, warmth, creates a crucible for change, and it represents passion and drive and action. It can also represent romantic ardor. However, it can also burn and blind and consume, with too much fire representing anger, unslakable lust, and recklessness. With fire's contrasting nature, it should come as no surprise that dragon people can both warm and incinerate. They can be sweet and gentle and loving and reassuring some days and completely engulf you with rage the next. They have a lot of mood swings. They can also turn that rage inward and scorch themselves inside out. So they can be a source of light and illumination, a candle in the darkness, or they can be a wildfire and destroy you completely. Dragon people feel things very intensely, and they hunger to feel. They often spend so much time in their caves that sometimes they will find excuses for strong emotion, sometimes even unconsciously, just so they can feel alive, because they often aren't doing enough in their lives to feel like they're really living. So healthy dragon people are those who regularly use this inner fire to fuel physical activity, creative exercises, and pursuits that make them feel passionate about their lives. Unhealthy dragon people are most often angry dragon people, and they're most often angry because they feel powerless. Somehow they've come to this conclusion that they're either not allowed to use their fire in the way that makes them feel alive, or they just can't seem to connect to the right opportunities to do so. So in this case, the dragon person needs to take some time to look at their beliefs around the use of fire in their lives. And fire is our creative, passionate element. So what are their beliefs about how their creativity will or will not be supported by others or by the universe itself? Or how do they feel they aren't going to be allowed to chase after the dreams that make them feel vibrant and whole? We really are intended to be radiantly happy and supported in all ways. If this isn't happening, there is a belief about ourselves or others or the universe that is standing in the way. These beliefs can be changed, and when they are, your whole life shifts for the better. I can't tell you guys how many times I have had to go through this myself, hundreds by now probably, but every time I discern why I feel powerless, and I let that go, more of the things that I want just flow into my life, and without me having to put any physical effort into making it happen. Whatever you believe about your life becomes true. It may take a while to figure out exactly what you believe, but it really, really is worth it to do so. Now, among the other potential outcomes of an angry dragon person are some key physical issues. This isn't all of them, but these are the two I run into a lot. One is heartburn, which may also manifest as acid reflux. The other is chronic cough. In the first case, you're burning up with anger about something, most likely something to do with heart-based feelings. Maybe you feel lonely and you're angry about this, or you're angry with a loved one for hurting you or denying you their love. If you're coughing, on the other hand, it's a good bet that you're either A, angry with someone or something and not letting yourself tell them, or you feel that if you do, it won't do any good. Or B, you're angry at yourself. Coughing is almost always an expression of self-criticism. So there's something about ourselves that we are doing or thinking that we don't think we should be doing or thinking. So healing these issues really involves identifying what emotions are fueling them. And once you're able to look at those emotions, you're able to either let them go spontaneously, which does happen, or you understand that you misjudged the situation, or you have more power than you think. When the emotions are gone, the illness goes away. Now, we also equate fire to romantic passion. Dragon people love to be in love. But, as we said before, they fear having their freedom taken away. All winged creatures fear being grounded, having someone clip their wings. And added to that, this fiery dragon person also fears having their fire put out. At the beginning of a relationship, when someone is actively feeding that romantic fire, this is great. But what if that person hangs around long enough that what used to excite becomes old hat and the passion totally dies, and the dragon's fire is extinguished from lack of fuel? Like their interpersonal relationships, romantic relationships can be tricky for the dragon person. They really need someone who's going to stimulate them on all levels, but they fear losing interest in this person and then becoming stuck with them. So if you're in a relationship with a dragon person, it's important to be aware of those times when they may think you're trying to take their freedom away in some fashion, as this is going to be one of their major triggers. It's also important to remember that if you want to receive attention from the dragon person in a romantic way, you have to give in kind. You need to light their fire, so to speak. So if you don't make some effort on your own, the fire they have burning for you is going to go out. And they're either going to get really grouchy or they'll begin to look elsewhere. Now, dragons are always seen as covered in hard scales, which are like a form of armor. In most legends, the dragon scales are impenetrable, meaning that the dragon cannot be wounded or killed except for one secret weak spot that the knight has to discover if he's going to slay the dragon. So throughout their lives, most dragon people are challenged to develop a thick skin. They are subjected to experiences that toughen them, strengthen them, help them let go of a tendency to experience hurt feelings or become completely unraveled over every little bump in the road. And this is a good thing because, a hurt or anxious dragon can rain fire on everything and everyone around them. Or they'll become so scared of life that they'll never come out of their cave. So dragon people tend to go through some pretty tough experiences, and through dealing with them, they learn to not sweat the small stuff, as it were. Over all the years and facing all these big challenges, they come to this place where they become calmer and they become aware of their own prodigious abilities to handle what life throws their way. And it takes something really serious to stir them up. This is when they're really beacons of wisdom because they're calm, they're peaceful, they know what they need from life, and they're able to help other people discover this for themselves. Now, another reason the dragon person must develop a thick skin is because, similar to the power granted them by their fire to warm with their love and inspiration or to incinerate with their rage or negativity, those sharp teeth and claws that dragons are seen to have give them the ability to shred someone and tear them to bits with their words, or to use the words with surgical precision to help someone discern and release insecurities or limiting beliefs about themselves. Most dragon people really have a knack with words. Now, if you're more of a fire dragon, when you use your words to wound, you'll probably be blunt, sharp-spoken, more prone to blame the other person outright. If you're more of a water dragon, your style is more likely to be passive-aggressive, to make the kind of comments that seem well-intentioned, the ones that start with, well, I'm doing this for your own good, but are actually cruel. So regardless, these words will cut someone deeply, maybe even in a way that's traumatizing to them. So, on the other hand, a water dragon who uses words to heal will focus more on helping a person understand their emotions and inner being, while a fire dragon will use their words to help someone connect with the actions that are right for them. So that thick skin keeps them from being triggered off and then using their words to destroy someone. When they don't react crazily to small bumps in life, then they're not going to use this prodigious ability to hurt people. They'll be able to save it for when it can help. Now, our mythological dragon survives by pretending to be tough all over, keeping secret that one tiny chink in its armor that makes it vulnerable. On the whole, dragon people are going to feel most comfortable being the one who gives advice and counsel, who listens to someone's problems and provides solutions rather than pouring their hearts out. This feels safe for them. Dragon people are such deeply feeling creatures that they know that if they were to share their inner self with someone, if that someone betrayed or abandoned them, it would destroy them. They just don't trust that someone will be careful enough with their heart and with their secrets to risk sharing them easily. So if you have a friend or family member who's a dragon person and opens up to you, know that you've been given a really, really special gift, and it's incumbent upon you not to violate their trust because they'll never forgive you. And if you're a dragon person, it's important to remember that you don't always have to seem strong, or that you've got it together, or you have all the answers. They may be few and far between, but there are going to be a few trustworthy souls in your life, and even you, as wise as you are, may need to unburden yourself to another now and again. So I hope this has given you guys a good understanding of dragon. But if you'd like further information, you are welcome to schedule a session with me. I work with people all over the world to help them understand the unique messages of people's animal totems and spirit guides, and also to help with physical and emotional healing, dream interpretation, figuring out what you're here to do with yourself, and a billion other things. And I would love to work with you as well. This is what I do for a living, and it is awesome. So if you're interested in working with me, you can visit my website, which is www.ravenlightholistichealing.com. It'll tell you exactly what I do, what to expect, what I charge, how to book a session with me, you know, all that good stuff. There's also a really good fact page up there if you don't see your questions answered immediately. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Ravenlight Holistic Healing. Make sure you look for my business page, Ravenlight Holistic Healing, and not my personal info under Jordana Van, because I don't respond to requests on my personal page, no matter how awesome you probably are. And while I understand if you would like my professional opinion on your spiritual situation, I don't provide this outside of a formal session. So if you're interested in my opinion or guidance, please book a session. Again, I would love to work with you. Have a gorgeous day, my darlings. Cheers.